it's just kind of weird because just the amount, even if you put out more air just in the air, it somehow just catches it more. So that's just, I think that's funny to me for some reason.
Yeah, no, that's funny. You know what's funny to me? I was just looking at your new microphone.
Yeah.
And if you look at the little knob on this side, it looks like it kind of says boo. Boom! Yeah.
Oh my god.
Could you think of 2 different ways to start this off?
No, I really couldn't. We got boobs, and you know what? The mic also kind of looks like a wiener.
This is pretty much the most phallic / hypersexual podcast imaginable.
Aside from the sex cast.
Which, I mean...
New and noteworthy.
You shouldn't talk about our new show.
Not yet.
You're like, oh!
Spoilers, bro.
Spoilers.
Oh my god. Alright.
Spoiler alert.
Anyway, so it's been a while since we've done one of these. It's been like a month.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
That being said, and I hate for it to sound nepotistic in any measure, but I've been enjoying re-listening to the last couple at least.
Really?
I mean, not that I think we do an especially great job. Like, I think you're fine. I think I contribute basically nothing. But we cover a lot of interesting ground at the very least, which is kind of cool.
Well, that was kind of the reason why we even started this, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's an easier format than writing because, boy.
Well, because when you're writing, you have to think.
Well, whereas when you're speaking, I mean, it's just anything.
Just let your mouth talk, and the words will just make sense eventually.
One of the things I used to tell people in college was like, whenever the subject of like death would come up, like, how do you think you're gonna die or whatever, I'd be like,
naked girl avalanche.
I hear the actuarial tables have been updated to include that as a cause of death. But I'd always tell people, there is like an 80% chance it's just going to be me getting stabbed for like just saying the wrong thing at the wrong time without even thinking about it and not even meaning it in a mean way.
Oh my god.
Not even being like, oh yeah, hey, hang on, sorry, maybe I shouldn't have said that. It's more like, I'm going to say something like at a party, or I'm going to be walking by a party that I'm not even at. I'm going to make some joke, and some guy's going to be like, the fuck did you just say? I'm like, uh-oh. Here comes the knifey end.
Guys, my stomach. Oh my god. What's up, man? How have things been? I had to think about that for a second. I didn't know what I wanted to ask.
It's been... I have literally all of the questions for you. On that note, I've been good.
Okay.
Work has been super busy lately for the last 2-ish weeks, like straight, just because it's our budget season. And I don't know if you've ever worked at a place with a budget season. That's. I mean, I know you actually haven't, but you know, I was trying to keep drama for the audience. So you, audience, I don't know if you've ever worked at a place with a budget season and/or. You know,
there's one guy out there who's like, he's talking about me.
Oh my god!
How you doing, man?
More importantly, I just like to clue in on the fact you said there's one guy out there. It's like, yeah, I mean, we know. It's just the one.
It's like when Danny Sexbag said, like, maybe 5 people will watch this.
But budget seasons are rough because no one, like, you get this high-level guidance on, like, here's the plan for 2015. Now let's spend week after week after week building a comprehensive plan for 2015, and then we'll see how it looks. And then if it looks wrong, like, we'll start over. It's like, I feel like there was
over.
I feel like, well, you know, start over a little bit. It's
okay.
Like, but still, it's like, I feel like there was a better way to do this. And at my old job, budget season literally lasted from June through December. So half of
a fiscal year.
Half of your fiscal year, your team is worrying about the next fiscal year. And it's like, come on, like, why are you making that much work for yourself? And people always complain that I was, like, the cynical one. Like, oh, come on, man. Like, just fucking, why you gotta hate
Don't rock the boat, ever.
Well, yeah, it's like, why don't you see the importance of the forecasting? It's like, I see the importance, but look at how much...
6 months of it?
6 months! It's insanity!
God. That is insanity. Like, I've never worked with a budget office or anything like that, but that is fucking crazy.
I'm now reminded of my awesome short story with the budget manager. That is based on a true story, by the way.
That's awesome.
I
did read that. Over the time we did these podcasts, I did read that, and I did enjoy it.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that, because I felt very proud of it. I just threw in a lot of adverbs that I thought were, adverbs and adjectives, really, that I thought were just totally unnecessary for the structure of the sentence.
Sure.
But I felt just added little bits of humor. But yeah, really had a boss like that.
All right.
How are you doing?
I've been really pretty good. Off the last podcast, I mentioned that I would be making my Artist Alley debut at KomoriCon this year. That time has come and gone, and I had a pretty smashing debut.
Do your best Nigel Thornberry impression. Go.
Smashing.
Well done.
What else does he fucking say?
I don't know. Just think of any other.
Eliza, how are you doing today?
Okay, I don't know how good that was, but I do know how funny it was. And spoilers, it was decently funny.
My comedy boner. Anyway, so I made my debut, and it was great. I spent maybe $200 some up to $300 on basically just materials and the print costs and all these things. And I was like, if I'm lucky, really, really lucky, I'll make enough to cover at least half of that. That was my intention going in. I didn't have anything to really build it off of because, I have attended conventions before, but I never really tried to sell anything, you know?
Right.
So when I went there...
how can you go in there with any real expectation based
exactly.
on
and so, I would read people's, hey, don't be like this, do this, be nice to people, talk to people, don't be just, they were giving, tips. So I looked up tips. And, the first day I paid off, I sold enough prints to pay off the printing costs and stuff.
That's outstanding.
And then the second day I was just riding high, and I was like, there's no way the second day is going to be as good as the first day. And it was even better than the first day.
Nice,
And then the third day was just kind of a nice little end cap, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to go get myself a treat. And so I bought a little figurine, and when I was there I met Chuck Huber. He was a guest at the convention this year.
Is that the guy that owns Huber's?
Oh, I fucking wish. I really do. Don't tell him where we are. There's no other place like us. But he's a voice actor at Funimation. He's done a bunch of kind of key people. He's been in Dragon Ball. He was Professor Stein and Soul Eater. He's been a bunch of different guys. But anyway, I got a chance to talk to him, and I just hey man, how are you doing? Just shook his hand, just talked to him hey, I'm actually a voice actor myself. I've been trying to build into it for the past 3 years, working local. And he's hey, that's pretty awesome, man. And I just kind of shared my Steve Bloom anecdote with him. He thought that was funny.
I bet he thought it was relatable too. I bet he was "Yep, same shit, man. Fucking, I hear ya."
Anyway, and then it ended with I bought he had little autograph cards, so you could get a little personalized art of some of his characters, and he'd sign it. And I was for $5, that's pretty sweet. You get an autograph, and you get to talk to this guy. And he gave me his business card and said, "Dude, as soon as you move to Texas, if you want to get in this anime industry, I'll be yeah, I know that guy."
Nice.
That's pretty cool, man.
I would like to point out that good job, quote unquote, networking, without it actually being networking. You know,
yeah.
You know the idea, and I can't believe this didn't come up in our last one. Work, but the whole concept of networking to me feels like the slimiest, most manipulative. You help me get ahead, I'll help you get ahead, unless it's not advantageous to me. In which case, go fuck yourself. Concept.
I can't get down with that.
Yeah, and it's wow, way to strip bare the fucking
humanity
mechanisms of capitalism to their rawest and dirtiest and slimiest elements.
I would hear that stuff when I was in school, and it's just they even said be friends with these people, and I'm but if you don't like them, why bother? So
well, and that's it, and that's the part that always bugged me about it.
Yeah.
I get that it's at least partially about who you know or whatever, but come on, man, don't try and gussy it up as oh yeah, no, we're friends. It's you're not friends.
We'll have to do a follow-up cast where we look at things that we missed or glossed over, and just follow up.
That's not a bad idea. Oh, that's not a bad idea for all
follow up Friday. Friggin' post follow-ups on Friday.
Just do a follow-up where it's okay, Adult Swim shows, draft one more. Video game consoles,
just do it all over again.
Male body image, final thought.
Oh, trust me, I could actually do that, so I might just do that now. Anyway.
Sounds kind of funny.
So with some of the money, I was able to pay off all my stuff, and that was pretty great, but I also bought a brand new microphone, which we're using right now.
Ah, yeah. Did you capture the audio where I said it looks like it says boob? Because I can still see it. And it's still funny.
It's that'll be on the extra features menu. But yeah, this is actually its maiden voyage right now, so I'm going to be using that moving forward.
Ooh.
I'm looking forward to using it. It's finally a professional setup. I was using a Snowball before, which is entry level, pretty good, but here's hoping we can see the quality. The only thing I hate about it is that this room is not suited for it. So make your entire house a soundstage, a soundstage, and then we can get this done right. And anyway, so inconvenience your life so that it can benefit me.
I love the idea that there's some like producer out there just casually like, let's go on WordPress and find a random thing. Oh, a podcast. Let's give this a listen. My God, the production values on this are outstanding. Beep, 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 beep. They just have our number.
Have some money.
Hollywood magic. And it's like, kids, listen. And it's very condescending, but whatever. He's a big shot producer. He's like, how would you like to come $1 million me work?
Yes. Yes, grand, we do fly out tomorrow. Yay. What else was there? So we got a new microphone. The debut was pretty good. I have a plan moving forward. Oh, and just like a fun tidbit, I just learned this yesterday. I did a comic series based on the Game Grumps called Uncut Grump, which was received very positively, and that made me really happy because when people actually like and notice my work, it's nice to hear.
I gotta say, and like, I know it's different getting feedback from others externally than it is for me, but like, even I was like, man, you've got something here. Like, this is quality stuff.
Yeah, and I figured there's a scene at the end of it where another editor from another YouTube series, Ronnie Oni Edwards, takes out Ninja Brian, like knocks him out with like a non-lethal like sniper rifle bullet, which they make apparently.
I was like,
at least in my world they
up?
do. Yes, they do have non-lethal like rifle ammo, but still.
I hope you Googled that and the NSA is looking at your Google search history and they're just like,
dude, if they
keep an eye on
oh my
this
god,
one.
that's why I switched to DuckDuckGo or whatever, because it's like look up M4, look up chokehold positions, look up. I'm like looking up all this reference for fight scenes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was just on Twitter and I was like just going through like folks that I like to listen to on like YouTube and podcasts and stuff, and I found Digressing and Side Questing, which is his show, Ronnie's show. And I was like, oh, cool. So I clicked on his profile, and his profile banner on Twitter is the drawing I did of him as he shot Ninja Brian.
Nice.
And I'm just like, I remember drawing that. That's fucking awesome.
I'm glad you remembered showing that.
No.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah,
like,
it made me, like, it surprised me. I was like, oh, look, that is awesome.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That shows that, A, I mean, he's seen it,
Mm.
and B, like, even if he didn't read the rest of it, like, even if you were, like, trying to be the most pessimistic possible. Like,
yeah.
He just found a picture of him drawn, and then, like, he took it for his banner, and, like, it's cool. Like, the people, like, he wouldn't have just found it if that were the case.
Yeah.
And someone would have had to read through it all the way to the end, because it's, like, the last page, and that's awesome, man.
It made me feel really cool. It was awesome. And so, like, as I'm working on the next phase of it, I'm working on Uncut Grumps 2, which is going to be a prologue for a bunch of other stuff I'm working on.
Nice.
One of them. I have so many prologues in mind to get these things in motion. But yeah, he's going to have a snippet in there as well, so I hope he sees that too. So that'll be cool.
Nice.
And finally, the thing I did, bit the bullet and bought Destiny for my Xbox.
AKA Halo 7.
Dude.
I'm just kidding. I don't know anything about Destiny. It looks cool.
It's one of those, like, I'm one of those people who doesn't ride any hype trains, so I'm like, I don't pay any attention to new details. I don't watch all the new trailers that come out. But when they come out eventually, like, I'll look at them, it's like, sure, why not? That's happened with GTA 5 last year. So, like, I didn't pay any attention. I didn't care about it until it finally came out. I was just like, I could play Grand Theft Auto. That sounds fun.
Well, I bought, what did I buy?
And, oh yeah, how is Destiny? I'm loving it.
Oh yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Is it like a Halo clone? Is it like a single player?
It's like a really interesting thing because I'm so like tired of Call of Duty games where everything's just like fireworks all the time.
Yeah.
So like when you have like a world and you have some pacing, like it's really different. So like when you're out and like you go on different planets and stuff, and so when I'm out like on a mission and I just like see like a squad of like 3 alien dudes I can shoot. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Pew, pew, pew. Like, whatever. That's a lot of fun. And then I wonder, there's a cave over there. I wonder what's in there. And then you find, like, these crazy, like, super strong monsters are going to obliterate you. You're like, whoop, that's me backing up. Like, it's weird because, like, Fallout had that kind of thing where, like, you want to explore. And the thing about Fallout was that the experience was pretty much universal. Like, you got what you were going to get.
Right.
And the exception of, like, when you saw, like Deathclaws and shit. Oh, my God. But... like, I don't get that kind of experience from a lot of first-person shooters. I get them more from those kind of open-world games. Mm-hmm. So when I get, like, a Halo-style, like, Call of Duty mix, like, feeling of shooter, and then I also get to explore a really interesting looking world. I love it.
That's pretty cool.
And the thing I can also say about the art direction in the game, working in the industry and seeing a lot of people who did stuff for like even things like Firefall, like there's always a kind of thing that's missed in translation a lot of the time from concept art to final product.
Yeah.
It looks like they just spent the entire time developing this game to make it look exactly like the concept art.
Nice.
Oh my god.
That's exciting.
There's more I can say, but I don't want to bore anybody.
And we need to keep this one a little quick because I have got a marathon to get to.
That's right, you do.
And not one where I'm running, just so we're clear. That's so, I mean, come on. 26 miles.
Anyway.
Bracelet. Still Patton Oswalt joke.
Okay. So, I had this topic a while ago. I was talking about video games again. I bought Killer is Dead. Killer is Dead was like a brand new franchise from Grasshopper Manufacture. I don't know if Goichi Suda 51 was involved in the project in any way, but I trusted this company. It's Kodokawa Games, or Kadokawa, I don't know how you say it, with Grasshopper Manufacture at the helm, being published for next generation consoles. It's going to be awesome. They came off of Lollipop Chainsaw, which was like, a dumb time, but it was really, really fun. And
well said.
It's just what you need, man. Sometimes it's just what you need in games.
Yeah.
And so I saw this and I was like, oh, cool. Like, it looks like a mix even from the guys themselves. It's like No More Heroes meets Killer 7, and those are like two of my favorite games ever. I played it for like 3 missions, and I got rid of it. I just did not like this game.
That's pretty crazy, and it sounds like the opposite of what happened to you with Destiny, more or less, where you're like, I was not hyped for this, and then I got it, and I'm really enjoying it. Versus, like, I was super hyped for this, and what happened?
Yeah, it's just one of those things, and so, being like a designer and stuff, I instantly tried to look at what was bugging me about the game. I came up with a lot of really good reasons, and problems that were actually in the game, which by themselves don't necessarily mean a lot, but when they're like compiled on top of each other or just presented in like a really poor way, they don't work together. And so I actually thought about it, like it's a uniquely Japanese game developer kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see if I can actually keep this structured in some way instead of just listing off random points. But I noticed similar things between another game I was excited for, which was El Shaddai. Rise of the Metatron, which came out a couple years ago. Had really cool art direction, had really cool things, but the game itself was just, it felt outdated and clunky. And
that's the worst.
That's the exact feeling I got with Killer is Dead, and to a lesser extent, I bought Yakuza Dead Souls because it was like Yakuza franchise, but with zombies and shit.
I've heard good things about the Yakuza franchise.
And the Yakuza franchise is pretty great. In fact, the one thing I'll say immediately about breaking off and talking about Yakuza for a second, there's like a feeling you get when you play like a narrative-driven Japanese like video game of any kind, because you're going to get like a story because they're going to tell you the story instead of show you the story. Mm-hmm. So there's something kind of oddly relaxing about that.
Like level pacing, you mean?
Yeah, because like when you play, like, because to me I equate it to something like Call of Duty, where like, oh, you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep talking.
Anyway, so when you play Call of Duty, like you walk around for a bit or go like swimming or do something like minimally engaging before something happens, which then boom, all the guns get shot. It's a pacing that exists, and it exists for a reason, because if it's just crazy time, balls to the wall, everything all the time, 1, you're never going to know what's happening ever. 2, you're going to get bored of all of that insane action, which is not what you want to ever happen in any situation ever.
I have a problem in a lot of games with insane, like, there's too much on the screen, like, I get it, but, this is tough for me to follow.
Yeah, and 3, it kills any form of real diversity in the game, because, like, it's like when you watch a movie, it needs to have those peaks and valleys. So, but the thing that I've noticed about with Japanese games, or at least the way I approach them, is that you go into these things expecting that no matter what you do. So even if the story is crazy engaging, you expect the gameplay to be completely separate from everything that you do in the game. And you expect like features that maybe just don't need to be there at all. For some reason, like you kind of have these weird, I don't know if the word's premonitions, but like you have these weird like things going into like when you play like a mainly Japanese developed game of like it's gonna stick to these conventions, they're gonna suck, but those glimmers of like diamond in the rough areas are gonna be the greatest parts.
Well,
and
I think the phrase you're looking for is preconceived notions.
Yeah,
and I only say that because I wonder how much of this is preconceived notion versus, and like how fair is that
Yeah.
on your end, you know? Like,
well, because
and I'm not saying it's unfair because God knows we all do that with, you know,
everything.
things in life where it's like, okay, if I'm gonna go, you know, do a thing, which I know you guys can all relate to. You're all like, I'm constantly doing things.
I'm doing a thing.
God, it's like if you go to your favorite restaurant, you're like, yeah, I mean,
we're
gonna stand outside for 45 minutes because that's how long it always fucking takes at this stupid, shitty, but very delicious restaurant.
But the thing about that too is that like all of those are kind of coupled with the things that you're looking to get out of the experience.
Right.
Like, this is an experience in a video game where you should never be bored. The third level, I think it's the third level, in Killer is Dead, you're fighting like a god of the moon in his mansion on the moon.
Okay.
And you don't have a spacesuit on, you're just a guy. You're just there and you can breathe the air that doesn't exist. And you're just killing people who jump out of like magic paintings inside the mansion.
A, it's weird they stole my autobiography for their game. I really talked to someone about this. B, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, and what's weird is that like the problem I'm having is like a lot of these games won't let themselves be awesome. It's really weird. I mentioned El Shaddai and like the Yakuza series beforehand. Like El Shaddai just by itself was just a visual feast for the eyes. And so the way that you like to have those kinds of games is by just having a lot of diverse things to look at and do, and then kind of have like the barrier of entry be low enough that you can get to those points without being frustrated and wanting to quit. But it was stuck inside this game that was an outdated PS2 brawler game that had just like, you know how like in a lot of action games they like grade you and mark your progress and stuff like that, and so and they have like certain combinations that work on certain enemies. What usually happens in those games is that they let you just take on all these enemies like one at a time,
right.
And then you can like counter another one and then break off. And like a good combat design, you know what it is when you play it.
Right. I feel like Arkham Asylum, like that franchise, does combat actually pretty well.
Yeah, it's really flowy.
And it's super flowy, and like you never have to worry about like the physics of you doing this dumb like side flip to fight another enemy like never come into play. It's just like button, button, direction, button, button, combo, direction, combo.
Yeah.
48 hit combo, all the enemies.
It's a really thing that like it's going to take me a long time to describe it if I went into like that kind of mechanics, but you can really feel it when you play a good game.
Yeah.
It felt like, again, it just felt like an old PS2 game reskinned to look really nice, and it's like, you know, you can get pretty far with that. You can.
Yeah.
But if the game won't let itself do that. Like, that's the thing I encountered with Killer is Dead. Like, the combat itself was so bad that I'd like to think of a better word, but I can't.
I like the thoughtful pause. Like, the game was just so
bad. It's just, as I was trying to play it, like, I was trying to enjoy this, like, crazy Alice in Wonderland topsy-turvy world I was jumping into, but then something, like, would just blindside me and be like, what the fuck? I can't enjoy anything. And that's what bugs me. Like, I think back to one of their older games. They did the licensed game of Samurai Champloo, where it's like, that game is like, it's an outdated feeling PS2 game because it is a PS2 game. And so some of the mechanics aren't as like clean as they could be, but the way they made it work was just by making things simpler. They didn't have a lot of long drawn out things, like, or even if they did, they were bookended. Like, so you saw it from the beginning and the end, and nothing really happened in the middle except for the gameplay. And so you got to just brawl around as Mugen and Jean and all that kind of stuff in really cool ways to really cool music. And there's a lot I could say that was actually well designed about that game that a lot of people would go, whatever. But if you're gonna let yourself have these old mechanics and these old like outdated like things in your game, don't try to make anything like superfluous to it. Because the other thing about Killer is Dead was it had like one of those stupid like buy upgrade skill things where like you earn experience to buy new moves. It's like, you know, just give me the moves as I need them. Or you just give me all the moves that I can do and then slowly teach me. So like I'll always have access to them or something, and then I'll know how to use them. It's like, oh, I could have used that there. That's cool.
Yeah, and that's something I feel like not a lot of games.
It's padding. I don't like it.
And I feel like that's something not a lot of games do either, is like the whole, like, you can do everything, but you have no occasion to do X, Y, Z thing until like this part of the game. Yeah. At which point it's like, oh, now that I see how this actually like works.
Yeah, and like even good games do it. Like I liked Metal Gear Revengeance. Mm-hmm. You can buy skills and like new moves in that game, and but like when you see a game like Killer is Dead where you have no like concept of what it is that you're actually doing until you do it and waste the experience that you earn to buy it to find out.
Right.
It's just an arduous it makes you not want to care because like I can just hit square and triangle and maybe shoot a little bit and then take care of everything I'll ever have to worry about.
Well, and this to me gets to a more fundamental thing, which is like the idea of fun in video games, right? Because to me, that's still the point, in some measure at least.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different ways to achieve that goal, but I feel like you see more and more of this just like, move to like this homogenous style of like, there are like 5 main types of games now, and they all more or less share the same mechanics. And it's like, look, man, I've played Kingdom Hearts, and I loved hitting X square, X square, X square, cleared the room, move on to the next room.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like, it was fine at the time. I was like, okay, I get it. But, like, there's so many games that do that, and there are so many first-person shooters,
and
they do it.
Do it just well enough that you're familiar with it,
right?
And then when there's no games that feel like unique or original anymore.
Well,
but there's actually,
and that's it, right?
And coming back to the Japanese design aesthetic, I can come back to that. I have some other examples to do, but finish your thought.
Well, I was gonna say, like, to me, it's like there's nothing wrong with the games. It's just like, I don't know. To me, the whole concept of fun gets lost in the shuffle. Where it's like, this feels technically fun instead of actually, really engaging.
It's like when you think that all of these things would add up to an experience that would be cohesive and good, but it doesn't.
I'm with you.
So coming back though to like, I don't want this to sound like the Japanese video game bash cast because it's not. There's a lot like
it's so fun. I have my pitchfork and torch and
your Japan poke and stick.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what else I would have.
Okay, so I thought about like other games that had come out recently, and recently I actually got the beta key. Alpha key, whatever, for Mighty Number 9.
Oh, yeah. That looks cool.
Dude, I played that, and I just adored the hell out of it. And, conventions aside, like, it's a side-scrolling Mega Man-style shooting game with some new mechanics in to, get you into it more.
Right.
Like, when you, absorb people's powers, and they have, a timer, and you gotta wind them down and stuff. Like, that stuff's really cool. I can talk about, people who've played it, you'll know what we're talking about. But, the fortunate few who got back the Kickstarter, which by $3 million should have been everyone.
God.
Yeah, anyway, so I look at a game like that, and that's using the same kind of conventions and not really iterating too much upon something, but it's fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about as I was playing, why is that? Why is it this fun to play versus something that's done something like Killer is Dead, where it has this an old system of gaming, and it doesn't work?
And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it because that's kind of what I was getting at, right?
And the thing that kills me is the fact that Mighty Number 9 isn't trying to be more than a game. It's trying to be it has characters and it has some story to it, but it's still a game first.
Right.
When you played Killer is Dead, you watched a cutscene every. The first mission in that game is you walking down a hallway, the game telling you to use the left stick to walk down the hallway, your guy, Mondo Zappa, which is a cool name, which is a character I shouldn't hate in any regard.
It's a funny name.
And he's walking down a hall, deflecting the bullets automatically of a guy that you try to kill, and then you watch another cutscene where you kill the guy, and then it's a 30-second mission and it's over.
Well, and to me, that's always been a challenge too, with especially cinema sequences, where it's even in Sonic games, where he's gonna run up this building and jump off all the enemies and do a weird spin kick, and it's cool, man, glad I gotta watch you do that instead of do that.
Devil May Cry syndrome.
Ugh.
It's watching Dante ride missiles, then get on a flying motorcycle. It's why can't I do that?
The old Metal Gear games were the same, where it's I get it, especially on the PS1 with Metal Gear Solid, it's I know you can't let me do these crazy ass backflips or whatever, but
right, and so
it's the character feels cooler when I watch him than when I be him, and that seems there's something wrong with that.
I had that problem with Bayonetta even, but we can have a bunch of discussions about that. We're going to try to keep this brief and stay on track.
Yeah.
Another game that I actually thought about was Binary Domain came out, and that was a game made by Sega. Mm-hmm. And this is another Japanese game that took something that was uniquely Western. It was the third-person kind of squad-based shooter game, and they did it really well while still keeping a lot of their main story elements and making a lot of things that that are uniquely Eastern in design mechanics and stuff work. The game had cutscenes, and that's not a problem.
Right.
Game, and the game had all these things happen in it, and it felt like an amalgamation of a lot of things that were trendy at the time, moral systems and letting people the characters in your game can like you more if you do more things, or if you shoot them they'll hate you, stuff like that.
Like the old love points in Final Fantasy VII.
You see, and so like it had those kind of mechanics in it, but it worked really well. And I was thinking back to that game, like why did that work again when in other games it doesn't? And as I was playing Binary Domain again for like the 15th time, because I fucking love that game, the thing is that it doesn't let anything really get in the way of either point of it. Like, when it's talking time, you want to hear talking time. When it's shooting time, you want to play shooting time. And, like, the scenarios that it presents are still fun as a game,
right.
And the things that are presented as a story are still presented in a fun, engaging way as a story.
Well, it's like you said about movies. You need peaks and valleys. You can't just have a really monotonous, monotone, stupid, boring, depressing storyline set to a hipster soundtrack and Zach Braff stars in it. No one would watch that.
Nobody. Ever.
But what I mean is, like, you need the balance, and it's like you said, you don't care when one is happening over the other because they're both working together.
You want those things to happen as you're playing it.
Yeah.
So that's what really worked the best. And as I was thinking, like, how can people, like, at Sega, this was like a brand new IP as well, and so you knew that this thing might not have had like the budget of like certain other games or certain other established things.
I imagine Sega's budget is a pie chart that's like one of those like 98% blue like Sonic Team, and then 2% like everything else.
God, dude, the Yakuza franchise.
And they just like point at it with the stick, like, oh, budget's actually gone down for Sonic Team from last year.
Very nice. Don't even get me started about Sonic games.
Let me ask you this to try and keep it focused on your point and the exploration. What do you think makes Binary Domain so successful at doing that? It's one thing to say, it's obviously harder to do. What do you think separates it?
I think it's a matter of the pacing itself, because like you'll get a cutscene when you start a game at this point, so people are used to doing that. The thing that was actually kind of cool was that it blended a lot of things that worked in Call of Duty, like that pacing before you start shooting everybody. Mm-hmm. Like the first cutscene in Binary Domain, I mean, I might be placing them wrong because it's been a little bit since I've played it, but like you're infiltrating like the outer wall of like getting inside the actual nation of Japan, and you're hearing kind of like that little bit of backstory, and then by the time you realize you've heard enough of it to know what you're actually going to do, you're already moving around in the game, and it's like, okay, check your weapons, make sure everything's in line, here's how you jump over things and stuff, and it integrates you into a tutorial.
Nice.
And so you're still getting like, exposition, but you're actually still playing as you're doing it, instead of it just taking like time to say, stop, hear this, go. Mm-hmm. Stop, hear this, go. You're going, and things are going. And then by the time you got up with your squad that you're going to be playing through the most of the game, you've like
all the controls.
Not only that, but you've killed a bunch of robots.
Nice.
And it's awesome. And then you've met like the big motherfucking robots, which is like, oh my god, you can't take that down right now. And so you like, oh shit, when you run. And so it has those situations before the story really officially people would say begins, where like you meet up with your squad, but things have happened. And so it's like, oh wow, this is actually what's happening in the world, and now we're going to try and have our story with it.
And that's so hard to pull off. Like,
it's
so hard to pull off that as seamlessly as that.
Yeah. It's still like, it's not perfect by any means.
No.
But like, I went in with nothing expecting from that game, because it was a brand new IP. No one knew anything about it. It was from the people who made like Yakuza and stuff, so I was like, oh cool, so they just want to make a more action-y version of that. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what they did.
Nice.
And so I had a lot of fun with that game.
Excellent.
So it's just kind of weird how a lot of like, it seems it's so easy when you see it's like, why can't all games be like this? And then when you see when it's wrong, it's like, why can they ever get away with that?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean, I don't know. To me, that's one of those things that you look back, even through time and your memory of games that you found the best. And if you start to like pick them apart critically and be like, what made this, so unique? What made this so memorable? I think that's why some of them hold up so well over time, and why some of them definitely don't. Yeah,
it's interesting because like I even looked at like Gears of War for comparison, because it was another third-person stop and pop style shooter, cover-based.
Stop and pop.
That's what Cliffy B said.
I hear that's the new dance that
Stop and Pop
is going to try and come out with.
He's going to bird walk to a stop and pop. Anyway, like the thing that he mentioned, like those mechanics are actually officially old enough since like 2005, 2006 to kind of be more classical. Because there are people who have started gaming with Xbox 360. And so when
that's weird.
So when I seriously, so when I look at stuff like Mighty Number 9 and Binary Domain, it's like you can see the classical influence immediately,
right,
with what they're doing, but they also make it unique to them. and then they introduce mechanics that are like staples in their own kind of genres and their own ways of development, but they do it in a way that's also engaging and also fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just long story short, I was really disappointed with Killer is Dead because it came from, to me, a great pedigree of these people who put gameplay first, who put like zany situations and fun first, and didn't deliver. And it had a collector's edition from the beginning, like with an art book and CD. It's like, why do I care about this? Why does this have a collector's edition for the first game of its franchise, and it's never going to get a sequel?
Yeah, that feels a little like putting the cart before the horse, if you ask me.
That said, the soundtrack is probably like the best part about that game.
I mean, that's cool.
It's like the game was trying to be. It's like the game was trying to be cool. Like, you know how when people try too hard to do that shit?
No, because my mom says I'm cool, and I just took her word for it.
I just picture Milhouse saying that. My mom says I'm cool.
While we're on the subject of video games and The Simpsons, would you or would you not pay at least $60 for a copy of Bloodstorm 2 or whatever that game was?
I would play that so hard.
That's what I'm talking about.
I just got into Killer Instinct, like really into it, so I'm loving that too.
Nice.
Good old Xbox One. That's some foreshadowing for you. Whoosh noise.
By the way, I'd like to go back real quick to when you were separating your thoughts a minute ago, you just let out this this like sigh.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a great title for like 90% of these. Where it's like
exacerbated sigh.
Episode 5. Japanese games. Episode 6.
Yeah.
Anything else?
It's funny because it sucks that we're on a bit of a time crunch because there's a lot more I really could say about this kind of stuff.
We could split this up into like a 5A, 5B if you wanted to, and then we could record separately. If you notice a small diminishment in the quality of the audio, it would be just because,
It's like you just hear like this wind blowing on your laptop, like,
what did you think I was going to be recording my part?
In my wind tunnel.
Which I have, because my house is actually a car design studio.
On the moon, like you said.
God, I wish.
Okay. Oh my god. So, yeah, this was a lot of fun. Yeah. I enjoy talking about this kind of stuff.
And the nice thing, too, is, like, even though this is abbreviated and there's, like, more depth we can go into, you know, I feel like we still covered a decent amount of ground. I learned stuff today.
Yeah. And certainly more coming in the future, because we just got a new microphone. Got to flex that shit.
Absolutely.
So here's my question to you, then. Have you been giving any thought to any individual topics you'd like to bring up?
I mean, I don't know. Part of me really wants to do like a 3-hour like deep dive into the like nature of the telecom industry and net neutrality.
Oh, wow.
And like the whole Netflix Comcast situation and the whole like don't let CISPA kill the internet because, you know, there's so much misinformation in the world about what's actually happening.
Yeah.
And that things that people don't know and things that people absolutely can't know. But part of the reason it would have to be like 3 hours because
there's just so much.
There's so much of it, and it takes a really long time to craft the whole story. But that one would take a lot of preparation on my point, I think. So
dude, we should just...
I'll back burner that one.
We'll bang it out. That'd be awesome. Like, get that like on a full like... We'll do a special. There you go.
Well, yeah, I don't want to be that exclusive.
Exclusive to this podcast, which is now officially on YouTube.
Hey, I saw that.
Just a little quick plug at the very end.
Yeah.
The 4th episode, which is the first episode on YouTube, which is not really the order I wanted to go in. So the people who might have experienced some technical difficulties listening to the Workle Jerk episode,
or any of the prior ones, Dropbox really.
Which is funny because like those just like kept working and the other one didn't. Anyway, so we're now going to be moving into a bit of a shift where you'll get them first here if we can manage that. But we found that YouTube is a really viable format because YouTube's where everybody goes right now. It's really easy to use, so expect to see new episodes and old episodes coming up as well. I'll be sure to put in a link to the YouTube page that will be being updated to at the end of this. So look forward to hearing that, and we never really said this before, but I mean, if you've enjoyed listening to us, feel free to share with your friends, tell other people. It'd be great to hear people's feedback.
Sure.
That's another thing, too, about YouTube, is that when you're smaller, you can probably actually get some decent feedback for stuff.
That's probably true. I just feel like there's definitely a cutoff point of probably like 10 views before we get at least one like first. It's gonna be like, damn it, it's already started.
Hey, I'm cool with it. PewDiePie's got 30 million subscribers, and he just turned off comments for that reason. So when you get that, we'll worry about that when we get that big. How about that?
Okay, but 5 days, which is, I assume, how long it'll take for us to get that many.
Uh-huh.
It just seems sudden, man.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah.